There is something inside you that is bigger than every obstacle you are facing. The reason life feels frustrating is not because you are weak, but because your purpose is screaming to be born. Once you align with it, you become unstoppable, doors open, favor flows, and courage rises in you like a fire. No one can quench. Every invention was designed with an intent. A car was designed to transport. A phone was designed to connect. You, too, were designed with a purpose. The frustration of life begins when you live outside of your original design. Once you reconnect with your purpose, nothing, no boss, no lack, no fear, no critics can stop you from fulfilling it. Let's walk through 4 powerful keys that will help you align with your purpose and become unstoppable. Every product on the market was made with an intention. Before a car is released, the engineers already know how fast it will go, how much weight it can carry, and the kind of fuel it will consume. Before a phone is manufactured, the designer already knows it will make calls, take pictures, and send messages. This is why no one buys a spoon expecting it to work as a hammer. The same principle applies to you. You are not an accident. You are not a coincidence. You are not a random event. You were designed, engineered, and released into the world fully loaded with abilities, talents, and a mission. The frustration you sometimes feel isn't because life is unfair. It's because your inner design knows you're living below your true capacity. Think about this. When you buy a new device, it comes with a manual. The manual reveals what the product can do and what it should not do. If you misuse it, it breaks. Many of us are living lives that break our spirit because we're using our lives outside the manufacturer's intent. You can't keep trying to be a copy of someone else and expect the fulfillment of your own purpose. People burn out and become depressed because they are forcing themselves into molds that were never theirs. Imagine a seed in your hand. That seed contains a tree, but it doesn't look like it yet. Its true potential is locked inside. Until it's placed in the right soil and environment, it can't grow. You are like that seed. The potential of your life is inside you, but it needs the right alignment to grow. That alignment starts with discovery. Discovery is not something mystical. It's a conscious decision to study yourself, your passions, your frustrations, and your gifts. Ask yourself, what keeps me up at night? What problem do I naturally feel called to solve? When do I feel most alive? These are not random questions. They are clues to the hidden blueprint of your life. Take a daily example. Maybe at work you find yourself always mediating conflicts. You never applied for mediator, but people naturally run to you for wisdom or peace. That's not an accident. It's a hint of purpose. Or perhaps you're the one who always notices when systems are inefficient while others walk past problems. You're already thinking of solutions. That's a clue to your purpose. You don't have to be on a stage or wear a suit to be significant. Your purpose may be in a classroom, in a kitchen, in a community, in a boardroom, or in your own household. When you begin to discover your original design, you stop wasting time. Time is the most precious currency you have. Purpose turns time into impact. Without purpose, you drift. With purpose, you drive. Without purpose, you compare yourself to others. With purpose, you compete only with your yesterday self. Without purpose, you feel insecure. With purpose, you walk with a quiet boldness that no one can shake. This is why people who know who they are don't crave approval. They already have their assignment. Think of a GPS. When you set your destination, it recalculates and finds the fastest route. Even if you take a wrong turn, it adjusts. That's what happens when you discover your purpose. You become like a guided missile. Obstacles still show up, but you always find your way back. Opportunities that once seemed random start to make sense. People who once doubted you suddenly see your value. You stop feeling like a wanderer and start feeling like a builder. This is not theory. Look at your own life. There have been moments when you were so immersed in something you lost track of time. Maybe it was writing, teaching, fixing something, serving people, designing, solving problems. That's not coincidence. That's your internal compass pointing you to the thing you were designed for. That's why frustration is often your friend. It's life's way of telling you you're off course. Purpose doesn't only make you effective, it makes you resilient. When you know why you're here, you can endure almost anything. People can reject you, circumstances can delay you. But because you're operating out of your original design, you bounce back stronger. You're like an eagle in a storm. While other birds hide, you rise on the same wind that frightens them. That's what discovering your original design does to your spirit. Many people wait for some grand revelation or a booming voice from heaven, but most of the time it's simpler than that. It's about paying attention to your life. It's about seeing patterns, listening to your inner stirrings, and embracing the parts of yourself you've been ignoring because they didn't seem important. Nothing about you is wasted. Every pain, every skill, every interest is a puzzle piece pointing you back to the bigger picture. When you begin to live in alignment with your design, ordinary days become extraordinary. You stop waking up dreading Mondays because your life is no longer random. Even challenges become fuel because you see them as part of the shaping process. Like a sculptor chiseling stone, every blow that once felt like an attack now feels like refinement. You stop running from who you are and start running toward it. You begin to attract the right people, the right doors, the right timing, because you're finally vibrating at the frequency of your assignment. Discovering your original design is the most liberating experience you can have. It's like finally finding your lane after years of wandering. Suddenly, the competition disappears because no one can beat you at being you. Your work becomes worship. Your contribution becomes a legacy. And instead of striving for approval, you start living from a place of overflow. You realize you were born with the answer to someone's problem, and that awareness gives you a power that can't be manufactured. This is the shift you must embrace. Stop looking outside for permission and start looking inside for direction. Stop waiting for someone to choose you and recognize that you were already chosen when you were designed. Your original design is your passport to impact. It is your proof that you matter, that your life has meaning, and that you have something the world cannot afford to lose. Would you like me to do the same style of expansion for the other 3 key points as well? A bold 800 words each, full motivational style. When you know why you are here, something shifts inside you. It's as if a hidden fire lights up and your whole being begins to vibrate with courage you never thought you had. Most people are not truly afraid of failure. They are afraid of stepping into their purpose, because once you step into it, there's no going back to small thinking. When you finally grasp that your life was designed with intention, the opinions of other people start to lose their power. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. You stop walking timidly because you realize you're not just another face in the crowd. You're a solution waiting to happen. Think of a lion. A lion is not the fastest, strongest, or largest animal in the jungle. Yet everything about its posture says king. It's not because of size, it's because of attitude. That attitude is born from identity. The lion knows it's a lion, and that knowledge makes it fearless. Purpose does the same for you. When you know what you were born to do, you walk into rooms differently. You sit at the table differently. You speak differently. You don't need to shout to prove yourself because purpose is your silent amplifier. Take a daily example. Imagine an employee at a company who knows their gift is leadership. Even if their title says assistant, they begin to take initiative, solve problems, and inspire others. They don't wait for permission to add value. Their purpose begins to produce boldness, and that boldness makes them visible. Opportunities start coming to them, not because they're chasing titles, but because they're walking in alignment. That's what happens when you know your assignment. You stop begging for a seat and start creating your own table. Purpose turns "I hope" into "I know." Without it, people live timidly, always doubting their own worth. With it, they stop asking, "Can I?" and start declaring, "I will." When you know your purpose, rejection doesn't sting the same way. You understand that someone's no is not a verdict on your value, but simply a redirection toward your next assignment. Like water around a rock, you flow around obstacles because your destination is non-negotiable. Look at how children behave when they're convinced about something. A child who believes they're right will argue with boldness that surprises you. Why? Because conviction produces confidence. Adults lose that somewhere along the way because of criticism, comparison, and fear. But when purpose re-enters your life, it resurrects that childlike boldness. You stop shrinking back from big dreams. You start making phone calls you've been afraid to make. You put your ideas out there even when no one claps. You stand up for your values even when others sit down. Think about a courtroom lawyer who has prepared their case thoroughly. They walk in not hoping, but knowing they have evidence. They stand before the judge with poise. That's what purpose does to you. It gives you evidence about your life. It's the inner conviction that says, "This is who I am. This is why I'm here. This is what I'm called to do." That evidence creates boldness that no applause or criticism can remove. Purpose also silences the inner critic. When you're unsure of who you are, you become hypersensitive to what people think. Every small remark feels like a dagger. But when you're anchored in your calling, the volume of outside noise decreases. It's like being a pilot trained to fly through turbulence. You don't panic at every bump because you know where you're headed. You might be misunderstood, mocked, or doubted, but you keep moving because boldness has replaced insecurity. Think of a runner on the track. If they keep looking left and right to see who's beside them, they lose speed and risk falling out of their lane. Purpose fixes your eyes forward. You become so consumed with your own race that comparison becomes irrelevant. That's why bold people seem so focused. They're too busy fulfilling destiny to get distracted by gossip or jealousy. In everyday life, you see this in people who start small businesses from their kitchen tables. Everyone around them says it's risky, but they keep going. They take steps others are too afraid to take. That's purpose-producing boldness. Or consider the single parent working 2 jobs, but still finding time to mentor younger people in their community because they know their presence matters. That's purpose-producing boldness. It's not about being loud or showy. It's about being immovable, about refusing to be reduced. This boldness also changes how you speak. Words once mumbled now come out clear and firm. Opportunities you once hesitated to ask for now become doors you confidently knock on. Conversations you once avoided become platforms for your message. People notice. They may not understand where it came from, but they feel it. Boldness is magnetic because it signals self-assurance born from alignment, not ego. There's a profound freedom in this. You stop trying to be accepted by everyone and start realizing you're already approved for your assignment. You stop apologizing for your gifts. You stop waiting for someone to validate your dream. Like an inventor with a patent, you know what you've been given and you guard it with courage. This is why people with purpose often outlast people with talent. Talent without conviction burns out. Conviction without talent grows into mastery because it refuses to quit. And remember, boldness doesn't mean recklessness. It means clarity. It means moving with intention, speaking with conviction, and standing with dignity, even when you're under pressure. It's about having an inner yes, so strong that external no's cannot derail you. It's walking into rooms you once felt too small for and realizing the room is lucky to have you. It's introducing your ideas, your services, your vision without trembling, because you know it's not just about you. It's about the impact tied to your life. Purpose produces boldness because it shifts your focus from survival to significance. When your life is only about surviving, you stay quiet, you play safe, you shrink. But when your life becomes about fulfilling purpose, you realize safety is an illusion and boldness is your true nature. You stop being a spectator and become a participant. You stop asking for directions and start leading the way. Like a lighthouse in a storm, you stand firm and shine because you know ships depend on your light to find their way. When you begin to walk in your true purpose, something remarkable starts to happen. Provision finds you. Most people are trained from childhood to chase after money, to hustle endlessly for resources, to claw their way toward stability. But purpose reverses that equation. Instead of you running after provision, provision begins running after you. It's not magic, it's alignment. When you're on assignment, everything you need to fulfill that assignment begins to gravitate toward you. Like a magnet pulling in metal, your purpose draws in relationships, ideas, and opportunities you could never have orchestrated on your own. Think about a river. A river does not beg for water. It's connected to a source, and because of that connection, water flows naturally. In the same way, when you're connected to your purpose, supply flows. You stop living from crisis to crisis and start living from provision to provision. People, ideas, and resources you've been praying for start showing up at just the right time. You no longer feel like you're forcing doors open with your bare hands because purpose becomes the key that unlocks them. Take a daily life example. Imagine a teacher who has always loved shaping young minds. She volunteers to tutor students after school not for money, but because she feels deeply called to it. A few months later, a nonprofit notices her impact and offers her a grant to expand her program. She didn't chase the money chased her impact. Or consider a young man who's passionate about solving community problems. He starts small, gathering neighbors to clean up a neglected park. His consistency attracts attention from local leaders, and soon he's offered resources to do more. This is the rhythm of purpose. You give what you have, and provision multiplies it. Purpose also changes how you see scarcity. When you're outside of your assignment, lack feels like a permanent wall. But when you're in your assignment, lack becomes a temporary hallway. You begin to think creatively, to see options where others see obstacles. You become resourceful because your mind is no longer focused on how do I survive, but how do I serve? This shift opens your eyes to solutions and partners that were always there but invisible to fear. Think about a seed again. A seed planted in its proper soil doesn't have to beg for nutrients. The soil gives them. But plant the same seed in the wrong environment and it struggles to live. Your purpose is your soil. It contains everything you need to grow. That's why some people look as if they're working less, but achieving more. It's not luck, it's alignment. They are planted where they're supposed to be, so provision comes naturally. This is not only about money. Provision includes mentors, allies, ideas, skills, and open doors. Sometimes the provision is knowledge. Sometimes it's an introduction. Sometimes it's the courage to say yes. When you're in purpose, even delays become provision because they prepare you for what's ahead. You realize you're not just being supported, but being shaped for your next level. Think of an artist who paints from their soul rather than just for a paycheck. They pour their truth into their work. At first, no one notices, but slowly their authenticity attracts an audience, then patrons, then investors. The art did not chase the gallery. The gallery chased the art because the art was birthed from purpose. Or think of a small cafe owner who genuinely cares about community. They create a space where people feel seen and valued. Without fancy advertising, word spreads and customers flock. This is purpose creating provision. When you shift from chasing provision to chasing purpose, your stress decreases. You stop seeing people as stepping stones and start seeing them as partners. You become less desperate and more discerning. You stop trying to force yourself into networks that don't fit and instead focus on building value where you are. This magnetizes your presence. People want to be around someone who knows where they're going. Investors want to invest in someone who has a clear vision. Friends want to help someone who is genuinely helping others. In everyday life, this looks like doors opening you didn't even knock on. It looks like someone recommending you for an opportunity you never applied for. It looks like the right book appearing in your life at the right time, or a mentor calling you out of the blue. It's the universe responding to your alignment. The moment you stop asking, "How can I get?" and start asking, "How can I give?" the flow of provision accelerates. Purpose also teaches patience with provision. When you're aligned, you understand timing is part of the supply. A premature blessing can crush you. A well-timed provision can launch you. Because of this, you stop panicking during dry seasons. You know the flow hasn't ended, it's being rerouted. You stop compromising your values out of desperation. You can say no to short-term gains because you're certain of long-term provision tied to your calling. Think of a construction site. Before a building goes up, materials are ordered. Trucks start arriving with cement, steel, wood, all scheduled to arrive exactly when needed. That's what happens in your life when you're building in purpose. Everything shows up when it's time to build the next stage. Not too early, not too late. And because you're operating in your lane, you recognize the materials when they arrive. You know which opportunities are yours and which are distractions. Even relationships shift under this principle. When you're in your purpose, the wrong people lose interest. They can't attach because your vibration no longer matches theirs. At the same time, the right people feel drawn. They see your integrity, your focus, your passion, and they want to be part of it. You don't have to manipulate or impress. Authenticity attracts the right alliance. All of this transforms how you live your daily life. You start your day differently because you're not waking up to scramble for provision, but to express your purpose. You approach meetings differently because you're not trying to sell yourself, but to serve through your gift. You even handle setbacks differently because you know lack of provision today does not define your destiny tomorrow. This makes you resilient and magnetic at the same time. The shift from chasing provision to aligning with purpose is one of the most liberating experiences you can have. It takes you out of the hamster wheel of fear and into the flow of faith, creativity, and strategy. It reveals that you were never meant to live life as a beggar at the door of opportunity, but as a steward of a calling that resources will always recognize and support. Legacy is not something you leave behind when you die. It is something you start building every day you live. The moment you begin to align with your purpose, you stop thinking only about the present and begin shaping the future. Most people are taught to think in terms of paychecks, weekends, and short-term comfort, but purpose pushes you to think in terms of decades and generations. It shifts your focus from, how can I be remembered, to, what am I building that will keep speaking when I'm silent? Purpose makes you realize you are not just passing through life. You are planting something that will grow long after you are gone. Think of a farmer planting trees whose shade he may never sit under. This is what purpose does. It makes you invest in outcomes that are bigger than you. You start to see your actions like seeds, and you become intentional about where you sow them. Instead of wasting energy on things that fade, you pour yourself into things that last. Your words, your deeds, your influence, your systems, your example. These all become building blocks of a legacy. Daily life is filled with examples of ordinary people creating extraordinary legacies through purpose. A grandmother who raises her children with values of integrity and kindness is creating a ripple that will influence how those children raise theirs. A teacher who invests in students who no one else believes in may inspire the next leader, scientist, or artist who will change the world. A community worker who keeps showing up to mentor youth after work hours is shaping futures they may never fully witness. They're not doing it for applause or immediate return. They're doing it because their purpose is bigger than a paycheck. Purpose reframes success. Success is not the car you drive or the followers you accumulate. Success is the effect you have on others. When you know your purpose, you stop chasing trophies and start building testimonies. You stop asking, what can I gain? And start asking, what can I give? This mindset transforms the quality of your work. It transforms the way people experience you. It transforms how you spend your time. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to deposit something lasting in someone's life. Think of an architect designing a cathedral that will take 100 years to complete. He knows he will never see the finished building, but he still sketches every detail with care because he understands he is part of something larger than himself. When you align with purpose, you adopt this same mindset. You start making decisions not just for your comfort, but for the impact on those who will come after you. You begin to think about your children's children, about your community 5 decades from now, about the values and systems that will still be operating when your name is no longer spoken. Legacy is not only about creating wealth or monuments. It's about creating pathways. It's about making it easier for someone else to go further than you did. When you break a generational curse, you are creating legacy. When you write a book, start a business, mentor someone, or simply live with integrity in a world that celebrates shortcuts, you are creating legacy. Every act of courage, every stand for truth, every moment of generosity adds a brick to the structure of your legacy. Consider a daily scenario. A young entrepreneur mentors high school students on weekends, teaching them skills they won't learn in classrooms. One of those students grows up to start a company that employs hundreds of people. Another becomes a social worker who saves lives. The entrepreneur may never know the full impact, but their fingerprints are on those futures. This is legacy. Or imagine a father who chooses to apologize to his children and break a cycle of anger passed down from his own father. That single choice reprograms how his children will parent theirs. This is legacy. Purpose also gives you patience with the process of legacy. You understand that the most valuable things take time to grow. You're not discouraged when your influence seems small because you know seeds begin underground. You're not obsessed with credit because you're more concerned about contribution. This patience and humility become part of your power. People who build legacies don't get distracted by applause. They're too focused on impact. Legacy changes how you handle adversity. You stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as preparation. You realize that the challenges you overcome today become the stories that strengthen someone else tomorrow. Even your failures become part of your legacy because they show others what resilience looks like. Your scars become roadmaps for the next generation. When you live like this, your daily habits shift. You become more intentional with your words because words shape memory. You become more disciplined with your time because time shapes outcome. You become more generous with your wisdom because wisdom multiplies when shared. And without even trying, you begin to attract other people who are also thinking beyond themselves. Legacy-minded people find each other because purpose recognizes purpose. Legacy is also about transferring values. Money without values destroys, values with money multiplies. When you align with purpose, you begin to articulate and demonstrate values that others can model. People watch how you treat the powerless, how you handle success, how you respond to failure. All of it becomes a silent curriculum that teaches long after you're gone. Think about a lighthouse on a rocky shore. The person who built it may be long dead, but the light still shines, guiding ships away from danger. That's what a legacy born of purpose does. It continues to warn, to guide, to inspire, to protect, to challenge long after the builder is gone. When you are driven by purpose, you begin to write your story in such a way that future generations can read it and find courage. You start seeing your decisions as chapters in a book someone else will open. You stop hiding your struggles because you realize your transparency could be the key to someone else's breakthrough. You stop wasting your talents because you realize unused gifts die with you, but shared gifts multiply beyond you. This is the power of aligning with your purpose. It forces you to lift your eyes off the immediate and onto the eternal. It calls you to build bridges, plant seeds, pour into others, and craft a life that echoes long after your physical presence has left the room. It shifts you from being a consumer of moments to being a creator of movements. It transforms your ordinary actions into extraordinary ripples that continue to travel far beyond your reach. You have walked through the truth that you were designed with intention, that your life is not a coincidence, but a calling. Everything you've survived, every lesson you've learned, every battle you've fought has been preparing you for this moment. And now you stand at the edge of a decision. Will you continue to drift with the crowd, or will you rise with the clarity of purpose? This is the point where ordinary ends and extraordinary begins. The world does not move for people who wait. It moves for people who decide. Decide to align with your purpose and watch life rearrange itself around you. Greatness does not shout. It whispers from inside you. It is that quiet voice that says, "You are more than this." It is the fire that refuses to die. Even when the world pours water on your dreams, you don't need permission to rise. You don't need applause to begin. You don't need a perfect plan to take the first step. What you need is to stop underestimating what's inside you. You were born loaded with gifts. You were born to solve a problem. You were born to leave a mark. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. The moment is waiting for you. Do not let fear be the author of your story. Fear is a liar. It will whisper, "You're not ready," while purpose shouts, "You were born ready." Fear will say, "You can't do it," while purpose says, "Watch me." Fear will try to cage you in the comfort zone, but purpose will unlock the door. And the minute you take that first step, everything changes. As one famous quote says, "And the net will appear." When you act in purpose, Invisible help becomes visible. Doors open. People show up. Opportunities unfold. Your life is not a rehearsal. This is the real stage. There are people you haven't met yet whose destinies are tied to your obedience. There are lives waiting to be lifted by your courage. There are generations waiting to be freed by your decision. This is why your purpose matters. It's not about ego, it's about impact. It's not about titles, it's about transformation. It's not about applause, it's about legacy. When you understand that, you stop living small. You stop apologizing for your brilliance. You stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. As Marianne Williamson said, your playing small does not serve the world. Think about the most powerful motivational dialogues of history. I have a dream. Yes, we can. Be the change you wish to see in the world. These were not just slogans. They were calls to purpose. They were declarations from people who had aligned their lives with something bigger than themselves. You are called to do the same. Your I have a dream may not be spoken on a podium, but it can be lived every day in your choices, your work, your attitude, your service. There is a version of you that the world has not yet seen. A bold you, a focused you, a relentless you. It is time to introduce that person to the world. It is time to silence the inner critic and awaken the inner champion. It is time to take your place. Purpose is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Purpose is not a someday thing, it is a now thing. Purpose is not for the chosen few, it is for the choosing you. As Les Brown says, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. Picture yourself a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. If you start today, where could you be? What impact could you have made? Who could you have helped? What system could you have built? Every massive change in history started with a single person deciding, enough is enough. I will not drift anymore. I will live on purpose. That's the decision before you now. Remember this, storms will come, critics will talk, obstacles will rise, but nothing can stop a person who is aligned with their purpose. You become like a river carving its way through rock, slowly, persistently, but inevitably shaping the landscape. You become like fire burning through the night, giving light, warmth, and direction to those around you. You become the living proof that destiny is stronger than difficulty. That calling is stronger than criticism, and that purpose is stronger than pain. So rise up, stand tall, take the limits off your mind, take the brakes off your dreams. Stop waiting for permission. Stop negotiating with fear. Stop settling for less. Say to yourself, I was born for this. I am equipped for this. I am ready for this. And when doubt creeps in, remember the words of Winston Churchill. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Keep moving. Keep believing. Keep building. Your life is the message someone has been waiting to hear. Your courage is the spark someone needs to ignite their own. Your consistency is the bridge someone needs to cross. This is your time. This is your turn. This is your moment. Nothing can stop you once you align with your purpose. Nothing.